How's it going, FPV world? I am here today. We're going to go ahead and do a NewBeeDrone V2 Beebrain build. I'm going to show you guys how easy it is to plug and play these tiny whoops, and for you guys to see how to program it and how to get it all set up for you to go flying around your house. So first off, the parts we're going to be using are, like I said, they're all NewBeeDrone parts. Big fan of their stuff. We're going to be using a cockroach frame. That was NewBeeDrone's personal frame. We're going to be using some King Kong 3-blade props. You can see that. A NewBeeDrone Beebrain V2 stack, the entire stack all together. And a set of gold NewBeeDrone motors. This thing should have the most punch that is possible out of a 6mm quad. So let's go ahead and start breaking things open, and I'll show you how easy it is to put this thing together. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and open up our cockroach frame here. And you'll notice on this frame that one of these supports is a lot bigger than the other. The larger support is the rear, so that's how you know which one the rear is. So we're going to set it just like that for now. Okay, and the first thing I normally do is go ahead and insert the motors, since that seems to be the trickiest part of this. Oh, dang it. I had trouble opening my last pack of these gold motors. Alright, and you see teeny tiny motors. Okay, and so when we turn this over, alright, I do this a lot just so that I don't get confused. Or actually, I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and do it like this. Your blue and red are your clockwise motors, and your black and white are your counterclockwise motors. Alright, so something cool that the cockroach frames have that the regular inductor frames don't have is these little stops at the bottom so that you don't push your motors in too far and accidentally crush your wires. I find that to be pretty dadgum cool. So first thing we're going to do is go ahead and just thread all of our motors in here. Okay, so all of our motors are in there. So we're going to set it to where the front's facing this way. Alright, next thing we got to do is we're going to pull our stack out. See, stack's all one piece when you pull it out. It has all your hardware right here. So we're going to dump all of our hardware out. Bunch of rubber bands, which is nice. I always need more rubber bands. Okay, so the way this thing comes is it just comes all rubber banded together, just like that. Okay, so you can take that rubber band off and grab a slightly smaller tool for this job. We're just going to take that rubber band off because we're not going to need it once we screw it all together. So and then we got to get our kind of pull our power wire out right here. Alright. I remember one of the NewBeeDrone guys saying that the best way to get your power wire was to actually run it down right between there, which is a pretty snug fit. Okay guys, we're back. I got my power connector through there, so we're going to go ahead and install our little grommets on our flight controller. And they just slide on the outside, or slide from the outsides, and just kind of catch in the slots. Alright. Now we're gonna push this sucker down into its little slots. Okay, so now that we have everything pushed down into its slots, for the most part, okay, we will go ahead and get this sucker screwed down. You're going to need a really small screwdriver for this, so make sure you have one handy. There we go. Sometimes those rubber grommets want to give us a little bit of trouble, but we got it. Okay, got everything nice and snug. A little bit of a tight fit, guys. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty snug, but I mean, tight fit's not always a bad thing. It's just gonna take you an extra minute. Be patient when you're putting it together. Everything seems to be going together pretty smoothly, so a little bit of a tight fit I'm not gonna really complain about. So the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and plug in our motor wires. Okay guys, we're back. You can see I've finished up my last few little things here. All I've done since we flash forward here is I took all my motor leads and plugged them into the plug closest to that motor. And you'll notice with the quad forward this way, once again, the red and blue is the front right and the back left. Okay? With it upside down. So make sure that you give those motors in the right orientation. So all I did was plug them in. I use these rubber bands right here to make sure and kind of just keep the slack. They don't have to be super tight. You can see mine aren't super tight, but with the rubber bands on there, they can't get into anything it's not supposed to. All right. After that, I just put the props on, and the prop orientation is the same as a standard Betaflight board. The front props spin counterclockwise in towards, and the back props spin I'm sorry, don't worry about the clockwise. Front props spin in, back props spin out. Okay, just like a standard 5-inch quad. And then you'll see on the antenna that there's just a little clip right here for the antenna, just a clip right in there like that. It's designed to break away so that if you have a crash or whatnot, it breaks away and it folds over to where we don't damage the antenna. Okay guys, we're gonna get started by going ahead and plugging the Beebrain into the computer. Okay, you'll see it fires right up and brings up COM 3. So we'll go ahead and connect. They do give instructions on the NewBeeDrone website on how to update the firmware, but mine did come with Betaflight 3.2.1, so I'm not going to worry about it. You'll see that the model moves, a little sluggish, but model moves just fine. Everything moves as it's supposed to. Here, it's tough to calibrate the accelerometer on this one because the USB is on the bottom of the board, so where your USB cable plugs in, it's kind of tough. So I didn't worry about it. It was pretty dang level whenever I plugged it in. Okay, so let's go down the list here and I'll show you what was already set. Everything on the ports tab was already set to this configuration when I plugged it in, and this was all 100% correct. I did not have to do anything on this page. On the configuration tab, you'll notice all the motor stuff was preset. The mixer was preset. Your system configuration was all preset. Accelerometer on. Everything else was off. We're going to scroll down. My receiver on this board was already set correctly to serial and S-Bus. Scrolling down here, I did have to, let's see here. This is what you want. You want telemetry on if you want telemetry to your remote, and then you want air mode, OSD, and VTX. You want those three on in the features tab. That was not set correctly whenever I powered the board up. There was some other stuff that was on that I didn't need, but this is how it's recommended it be set up through NewBeeDrone. So if you set it up this way, you'll be good to go. And then the beeper configuration, this is just all the crap that beeps when different things happen, so I didn't mess with any of that. I did notice that my voltage meter was a little off. I haven't messed with that yet, but in the OSD, my high voltage batteries that are at 4.3, they're only reading like 3.6 whenever I plug them in, so there'll be a little bit of tweaking to do on that later. Not too worried about it. Don't know if this is something that y'all bother with, but you know, you do have a failsafe on here that you can turn on if you want. it's a whoop. I don't know that I would worry about it. PID tuning. This thing comes with your PIDs being a preset PID tune, and unless you're going super hard acro outside, which I have tried with it, it's really not necessary to change your PIDs. They work pretty dadgum good in their stock configuration. I have tweaked the rates a little bit. Mine wasn't quite as quick as I wanted, but it does come set with the rates preset from the shop. Also your angle and horizon strength, how hard it's going to try to pull you back to level is already preset, and as well as your angle limit, how far it's going to let you lean forward, is already preset. But those are all things that you can tweak to try to get this thing feeling just right for you. I think I'll probably up the angle limit later on. I find in super high throttle times that it wants to rise a little bit more, so we may have to adjust our angle limit just a little bit. On the receivers tab, which I don't have my remote powered up, everything was actually already set dead on. I already had a model set in my remote from a previous Tiny Whoop, and I just copied that model, and man, everything else just went dead on. It was all perfect. I've got two switches, or I've got three switches activated, auxiliary 1, 2, and 3, on my Tyrannus, so I had all three of them set up as well. So this right here, you can change your channel mapping right here. If you find a channel is wrong, you'll see roll is A, pitch is E, yaw is R, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 corresponds to your auxiliary channels. If you find that when you hit roll that you're moving your yaw and vice versa, then all you have to do is come over here and swap A and R. So put the R where the A is and put the A where the R is, and that will get your channel mapping correct. Let's see. So coming down here to modes, okay, I'm a huge fan of having a pre-arm, and that's something new with Betaflight 3.2. I have my pre-arm set on a temporary switch on the right side of my remote, and I have my arm set on a two-way switch on the left side of my remote. That way it's a 2-switch arm and a 1-switch disarm. It's just a little bit of extra safety, guys. But you'll see I've got my arm to auxiliary 1, which is the left side of the quad, and I've got my pre-arm to auxiliary 2, which is on the right side, not my quad, my remote. And then I have angle mode and horizon mode set on a 3-way switch. I don't really fly acro, guys. Not with the Tiny Whoop, I should say. That's all saved for the 3, 4, and 5-inch quads. But so I've got angle mode is going to be what's on 95% of the time, and then horizon mode if I decide that I want to do some flips or something. So that's set. And I had to do all this myself. All that's got to be set. If you want that thing to be in angle mode, you've got to set a switch that puts it into angle mode, because the default is acro. And then the only other thing we had was the OSD screen. And basically, here's your screen, and just add and remove what you want to see. We're going to go ahead and add the milliamps drawn here. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I got stuff all over the place here. Okay, so I'm going to take this one. And all it is just a click and drag. It's pretty easy. Okay. And then we're going to put that right there. So full battery voltage, and then your milliamps drawn. Okay, and then everything else, you've got alarms and all kinds of other fun stuff on here. That's up to you guys. Just set that up however you want. But all you got to do is set your OSD the way that you want it, and then hit save. Pretty basic. And that's it, guys. At this point, it's all set up, ready to go. Like I said, other than the OSD, the mode screen, I had to set up those completely. The receiver was just making sure that my receiver matched up the way that it was supposed to. And just those little changes on the configuration screen. And that was it. Everything else was preset. So as far as Betaflight goes, pretty easy to set up for the most part. But we'll go ahead and jump into a quick flight video. And I'll tell you guys, the quad's amazing. hands down. It's awesome. It's everything that I could want it to be. I've got no desire to move up to a 7 or 8 millimeter. This thing flies stellar. So you guys enjoy a little bit of flight footage, and we'll catch y'all later.